that decision is going to be right now.
Right, and if this does happen, I mean, what means do Greenlanders have to defend themselves?
Well, what the United States knows, and what's pretty obvious from all of this, Nadia, is that if they launch a ground attack on Greenland, there's going to be no way that the people of Greenland can fight that off. They just don't have the means to fight back against the United States. Remember, Greenland is under the tutorship of the Danes, and they're members of NATO like the United States. So normally if there's an attack against Greenland, other member states of NATO would come to the rescue, including the United States. But what would happen if it's the United States that's attacking? That has never been considered in the past. So this obviously means that NATO would collapse. Greenland doesn't have the means to support itself. It doesn't have any international troops based on the ground. An expert.
Canada, Greenland, and the world. This presentation today, based on my background in international relations, is about Greenland. It is ongoing talk by the United States wanting to annex Greenland, and the Greenland government saying, oh, we don't want to be annexed. We are a sovereign people, and Denmark saying the same thing, yet they don't have troops on Greenland. Shouldn't Greenland have, just like you have NATO has troops protecting Poland from Russia, shouldn't there be NATO troops, including particularly the Europeans at least, on Greenland, protecting Greenland from a potential U.S. invasion, particularly what happened with Venezuela? I mean, this thing where the Greenland just simply talks a good line and Denmark talks a good line. Didn't they experience what happened to Europe during World War II when Europe was talking a good line against Hitler? And then what did Hitler do? Just walk into Australia, walk into Poland, walk into France, and there was World War II. When the whole world was nearly consumed by Nazi Germany. And now we have a demagogue, with Trump doing the same thing again, and rather than learning from history to mount an effective deterrent by making sure that there's troops to back up your rhetoric, all we're hearing from Greenland is pure rhetoric. All we're seeing from Denmark is pure rhetoric. No, don't invade Greenland. It's us. We've been at it for hundreds of years. Don't invade us. No substantive troop presence of European troops, NATO troops to protect Greenland from invasion. Like, how could this be? This is just completely outrageous. This is how we as humans keep repeating history over and over again. Obvious experiences of what happens when you don't do certain things get completely ignored. Then you have the same type of elite dumbfoundedness, either dumbfoundedness or maybe they're doing this intentional, I don't know, but this is so outrageous. Why hasn't Greenland and with Denmark sought to ensure that there's a sufficient military troop complement stationed there at all times as a deterrent against invasion? This is just outrageous what is going on with respect to Greenland. And unfortunately, us as Canadians, it's definitely not in our interest for the United States to take over Greenland, because it's goodbye Canada if Greenland falls. So what is going on here is outrageous. It is not only, Greenland is, facing problems here, and Europe with respect to what's going on with NATO and NATO falling. But, in fact, Trump doesn't care if NATO falls because he doesn't like NATO in the first place. He just wants to be Trump on his own terms, controlling the whole of Western Hemisphere, which is eventually going to lead to a World War III catastrophe, because competing authoritarian regimes cannot survive because they are predatory, they are destructive, and sooner or later they're going to take each other on and lead to complete prospective nuclear annihilation. So it is vital for people in Greenland, for people in Denmark to start smartening up, start putting military troops on Greenland to prevent the whole world falling into a authoritarian, destructive path where democracy falls and the world falls to a perspective of nuclear annihilation. Greenland needs to smarten up. Denmark needs to smarten up. Europe needs to smarten up. In Canada, they have taken efforts to make a diplomatic consulate in Greenland, but that is far not insufficient. That is a step in the right direction. But Greenland needs to start doing more than just blabbering at the mouth, for lack of a better phrase. They need to start, ensuring at the very least that they have a military presence on the island of their fellow Europeans to make sure the island doesn't fall, not simply keep talking a good line, because you cannot, whatever they say is completely irrelevant to the madman that we have south of the border. The Venezuelans found this out, unfortunately, and the United States can easily, surgically remove the same way the leadership of Greenland and install their own fascist, despotic regime in Greenland. People are not thinking here. There's a lot of, stupid people around who are not seeing the obviousness of what needs to be done to prevent the whole world from being destroyed under this tyranny of authoritarianism that Trump is threatening. So people in Greenland need to smarten up with the Danes. You need to smarten up. You need to start getting their act together and going beyond their blathering at the mouth. It is not going to protect Greenland by blathering at the mouth. People need to start, doing things to actually focus on how to, in a practical sense, to defend the island more than just simply the hot air rhetoric. Thanks for watching another edition of the Ottawa Market.